In this video, we're at the Still Austin Distillery to learn what makes Texas bourbon so different from anywhere else. Stick around to the end of the video because we're going to pick an exclusive barrel for the Brewzle Club. But first, let's learn more about Still Austin. We're gonna get a personalized tour here of the facility. Sometimes these things tend to get out of hand. Now this one's a little different. Normally we're gonna bring a bunch of patrons, but today it's a corporate thing. I'm in e-commerce. Big Commerce is a big partner of ours. They're headquartered here in Austin, Texas. So we got a bunch of Big Commerce folks. We gotta make it corporate friendly, but we'll try to make it as entertaining as possible. And we'll see how many barrels we buy. What's the plan today?
What's up, guys? My name is Christian Wilhoff. I run the single barrel program for us at Still Austin Whiskey Company. Selected 5 different beautiful barrels, all ranging in flavor, different ages. And we're just gonna go through those together, baby. We're just gonna taste some delicious whiskey and see which one you like. But before that, we're gonna take a tour of our beautiful facility where we make 100% of all of our grain to glass whiskey here in Austin.
And here's the crew we brought. We're already about 20 minutes late in true corporate fashion, so let's get into this tour and see what we see. Y'all ready? Do y'all need a drink? Can we get drinks? I mean, I've got a drink. Only corporate people are like, could we get drinks? You're at a distillery, man. Yes, you can have a drink.
Just don't ask for a vodka soda. Come on over, guys. Still Austin has been open since 2016. Since day one, we've done everything ourselves from grain to glass right here at the distillery. That's been paramount to who we are as a company, who we want to remain as. Nothing sourced has ever touched the distillery, nor will it ever. We wanted to have our own mill house, silos, great relationships with local farmers, and we've maintained that. We're now currently sold everywhere in Illinois and Louisiana, all over Texas. We're in 20 some odd other states just in total wine, and we're just expanding so much. But it's paramount to know that we're gonna keep this grain to glass mentality and keep supporting Texas farmers to get all of our grains.
Don't mess with Texas.
One thing that we do different than any other, a lot of other distilleries, we pay a premium for food grade, non-GMO grains. That makes a huge difference in our final product. Anyone who knows bourbon, whiskey knows that Kentucky, Tennessee, they can age whiskey a lot longer there. And they do, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, longer than that. Here in the great state of Texas, we have this incredible microcosm of an area, especially here in Central Texas, where we can age whiskey incredibly fast. So some of the same flavor profiles that you get out of a beautiful 4-year, 6-year, 8-year bourbon that's coming out of Kentucky and Tennessee, we're managing to harness our climate and harness the weather here and do it in a way to where we can get that exact same flavor profile or damn close to it in about 2 years, sometimes under 2 years.
What is it about the Texas climate that allows that to happen?
Great question. The long and skinny of it is we have a lot longer, steadier summers, and we have a lot slower of a decrease in temperature. We literally have like double the amount of time to age whiskey as they do in Kentucky and Tennessee. You just gotta do it right. And it's really only in this beautiful little pocket that we have here in Central Texas. So, mill house, we're gonna go over, we'll show you the auger, we're gonna show you where all the grain gets pumped into the distillery. We'll make this short and sweet. Auger, straight from the mill house, gets pumped right through here. You guys wanna get in here, you can actually see what the grist looks like once it's all milled. That's the starter of our beautiful whiskey. We're gonna pump that freshly milled grain, right, straight through the auger, go straight into this bad boy. We'll do 1 grain at a time, corn, malted barley, rye, depending on what mash bill we're doing. And that gets weighed out very meticulously. It gets pumped into the cooker. We're gonna pop it in the cooker for 4 to 6 hours, depending on the mash bill, depending on the size of the mash. And then after we cook that at about 230 degrees, we're going to pitch some yeast and some enzymes, and we're gonna pop them in one of our, well, now we have 5 more fermentation tanks back there, but we used to only have 6. These are our 6 original fermentation tanks. You guys see these little perforated steel jackets that are on the outside? Do you guys know what those do? So those have water swirling in them, and we can get the temperature of the mash down really quick by having those cooling jackets on there. It's imperative that we get it down to a temperature mid to low 70s for active fermentation once the yeast and the enzymes are in there. Has anyone ever made pizza dough at home? Okay, so when you wrap it with saran wrap, slowly starts to expand, you made alcohol. It's essentially the exact same thing that's happening in these bad boys. Depending on the mash size, depending on the mash bill, it's gonna sit in the fermentation tanks for 4 days, could be a little bit longer, depending on what the target ABV of the final mash is. We want the target alcohol by volume of the final mash right around like 8 to 10%, sometimes a little bit lower. Once we're done fermenting in these beauties, we pump it into the beer well, because at that point, that's exactly what it is. It's what we call that mash that has that alcohol content in it, that's just beer. And normally, if you were gonna make beer, that's kind of where it would roughly stop. And then from there, we're gonna pump it and to Nancy. Really want you guys to understand the scope of this bad boy. This is an absolutely incredible piece of distilling technology. This is made for us by the Forsyth Still Company out of Scotland. So our first master distiller, Mike Delavante, he was a big part of Appleton Rum. We were lucky enough to have him on board, and yeah, he was able to figure out a way for us to get this from the Forsyth Still Company in Scotland. This is a continuously running column still. So if you've ever been to any other distillery, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to have a continuous column still. They'll have a stripping column and then rectification columns. What we're doing here is we took that fermented mash that's over here, right? We're going to pump it into Nancy. Once the mash gets pumped up into each one of these plates, all these plates have little perforated holes and cones on them. It's steam injected. So we're heating it up to the point where we're actively just creating as much alcohol as possible out of that mash. It's got 24 stripping plates and then 12 rectification plates on top. So as soon as we've heated it up all the way to the top, that organic material is going to go out to a silo that we have right out in front of the distillery. We have local ranchers, local farmers that come and pick that stuff up, which is a huge win-win because we'd have to figure out a way to, get rid of that anyways. But it's incredibly nutrient dense for cattle. It's like the best thing for cows to eat.
Any alcohol in that?
Absolutely.
So the animals are getting excited when they...
Absolutely, and they know when one of these trucks pulls up too. They can smell it from a mile away. We pitched all that organic material out to the silo, right? The only thing we're left with is liquid. We're going to heat that liquid alcohol up even more in the rectification until we get to a point where it's just vapor. That meets in the condensing column. We've got some really cold water that's swirling all around the condensing tubes, and then that recondenses that liquid into our liquid alcohol, whiskey. We have our final alcohol that's come off the spout up there. It goes straight into the product receiving tank. Sit in the product receiving tank, maybe for a day, just long enough to let a little bit of alcohol just kind of evaporate off the top, right? Because it's gone through a very stressful process at that point. So we need to just kind of let it chill and let it relax for a little bit. All of the whiskey that comes off these stills comes off the still crystal clear. I don't know if you guys knew this or not. So whiskey does not come off a still colored in any way, shape, or form. That beautiful dark color that everyone looks for and is highly sought after all over the world. It's kind of indicative of a good bourbon a lot of the times is the color. 100% of that color comes from a barrel. So the inside of these barrels are all burned. There's multiple different gradients of the amount of char that a barrel can have. We use char number 3. Char number 4, there is a char number 5, but char number 4 is usually on the higher side. Char number 3 is what we like to use.
With that gas pump.
It's just like gravity fed, so this is filled with liquid, right?
From there. Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
So you mentioned something about gasoline. So
No, this is like that's a diesel.
I got too many on the tour. Sorry.
No, you're all good. Yeah, it was brand new. No gas has ever touched this.
What do you say?
Let's make no gas has ever touched the Still Austin. Yeah, so legally here in the United States, in order for you to put either rye or bourbon on the label, the liquid that has come off a still has to touch a charred new American oak barrel. Back in moonshiner days, they would have like little buckets of oak, right? That they would torch, they'd like put over a fire. And sometimes they'd take a bucket of moonshine, they'd swirl it around in there, swish it around for 5 minutes, and then put it in a bottle. Technically, from a legal standpoint, that was bourbon because it hit charred new oak, right? That was grown here in America. Kelvin Cooperage and, like I said, Independent Stave Company in Missouri, they're absolutely phenomenal, and they're so sustainable. They plant so many trees constantly that are, to make up for the incredible amount of wood that's needed to run a cooperage. Before we can use them, we fill them up with water and let them sit for a day or so. So we put the water in there to ensure that it's 100% watertight.
Will that go out to stores? Will that go out to like...
No. So this is going to go out to our rack house where we age all the whiskey, which is just a giant metal barn out in the middle of the country. Can't tell you where, I'd have to kill you, sorry. We've got thousands and thousands of barrels aging out there right now. It's kind of a set it and forget it situation. We won't touch them for another at least 2 years, but probably more than that.
Any particular reason y'all choose to fill them on the ends instead of like most Kentucky?
Absolutely.
Going to finish them.
Yeah,
fill them on the sides.
So this is called a palletized. So all of our rack houses are palletized. But the ones that he's talking about in Kentucky, the majority of those are racked, right? So they're laid on their side. So the biggest reason we do this, remember when I was telling you guys about élevage, the raising of the water and adding the water into the barrels meticulously once a month for that 6-month period to bring the proof down? 2 big reasons. It's way easier for us to just take the pallets down like this, have the bung on top, for us to be able, we're not worried about it rolling around. That's a big reason. But also when you palletize stuff like this, think about when you, so if these are laying down, right? If you have this barrel on its side, over the course of a year, 2 years, 3 years, we talked about evaporation too, right? That happens with any whiskey, no matter where you're aging it. You lose a lot of the actual liquid in there due to the heat and the evaporation. There is a giant air bubble that would fill up here, and that means that that liquid is not touching the wood. There's a lot less liquid that's not touching the wood if we palletize them like that. Try this. This is our malted barley. It's delicious.
Are people sampling these?
Get in there, yeah. They're gonna get crushed, heated, fermented. They're all good.
I'll get a spoon, I'll be back.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty tasty.
Right?
That's what I've had for lunch and dinner tonight, so we're on.
Oh, wow. Here's our last stop before we go pick our barrel.
Pretty good description.
This is a really good indicator of what's happening to that liquid inside the barrels over the course of 14 months. In the middle of the summer when it's ripping hot, when I'm out there, I'm tasting this 125 proof, 123 proof liquor. The actual liquid is at like 89 to 93 degrees, like inside the barrel. Right before a pot of water starts to boil, you know those like tiny little bubbles that form on the outside, right? Or on the inside, and it starts to percolate a little bit? That's exactly what's happening with our whiskey out there in the middle of the summer. It's moving by itself, it's penetrating into the wood and pulling out of the wood when it's the hottest. And that's how we get this beautiful color. This is a char number 3 right over here. If you wanna check it out, that's what we use. And then char number 4, good example. Then there's alligator chars as well. This is raw, this is toasted, and then that's charred. So if you ever see something hit like a secondary char was a toasted barrel, it's one of those. Just a really light like flame that hits it just enough to open up the oak a little bit.
Would you ever transport into barrels so it's barreled in one, and then over the course of it you're going to rebarrel it?
Like a secondary aging on something? Yeah, secondary aging, we do that a lot. We do it for some of our DRSs, which are called Distillery Reserve Series. So once we have a whiskey that's been aged 4 years, 3 years, however many years, we'll put it in like a sherry cask or a PX, like a Pedro Jimenez barrel or something like that, just to get a little extra flavor. Especially with our stuff, we want the grains to shine as much as possible. If you end up putting stuff in another barrel like that, it can really overtake and overshine the quality of the grains and the actual like whiskey in and of itself, and it'll just take on a ton of the flavor profile of that barrel. So we don't like to do it too long. If we do, it's for a few months here or there. Did we learn something? Did we learn a few things? Hell yeah. Let's go taste some whiskey.
All right, so far, I've been very corporate friendly. I barely said a word. We took the tour. I didn't say anything. Now we get to drink whiskey. Maybe next time we drink whiskey and then go do the tour when everybody's a little tipsy, it's a little better here. This might not be indicative of a typical Still Austin pick because the Rick House was an option.
Actually, very few people get to go out to the Rack House.
Very few. So we were going to get the VIP. So never mind. This is what you will get. We were offered the VIP and they turned it down because this is closer to where they work.
Why do you do this game?
In a word,
chaos. So this is the normal process here, typically?
Yeah, I take great pride in, styling people out and making sure you guys feel like you're in our living room. And I picked all these samples for us yesterday. It's all the same 70% corn, 25 rye, 5% malted barley. I just went through and picked some that just have crazy different flavor profiles. We're gonna go on a little adventure together.
So here's how we do this. These are the rules.
One bite, everybody knows the rules.
Just because he pours it doesn't mean you have to drink it. If you drink all the whiskey that is poured, hopefully you brought a driver, right? Or Uber's not too hard to get out here. Second, this is a democracy. So what we are going to do is you are going to rank each of these samples 1 through 5. And once we add up everybody's 1 through 5, whichever one has the lowest point total wins. That's the barrel we buy. What's our whiskey drinking experience here?
I'm an amateur. I don't know too much about this or that.
Same for me.
Any whiskey professionals? You just...
that makes 3 of us.
Okay.
Medium range.
Medium
A
range?
little bit above Levi, but a lot below you.
As far as like how much whiskey someone has consumed, there's a lot of folks way below me.
I'm stronger, I'm smarter, I'm better.
I've thrown up more alcohol than most of you have had.
Recreational drinker.
No professionals here. I hope they picked the right one.
You say select the right barrel, but I got to know what that barrel then is going to go and do.
Yeah, so once we pick a barrel, I'll make sure y'all get access to some bottles. But these are going to be bottled up. They're going to be sent to a retailer here in Texas, and they will go for sale. I'm hoping January, early next year, might not make it to January. These will actually be in bottles, ready to go. Each one of these is a single barrel. So all of this whiskey came from one barrel, whereas if you go buy a normal product, it's gonna be blended from a lot of barrels. So this being a single barrel, they're all gonna be kind of unique in some way. And we pick the one that is most interesting to us, and then that'll be offered to sale. If you pick the wrong one, you completely ruin my reputation and nobody ever buys a bottle of whiskey from me again.
Understood.
So no pressure whatsoever.
I am not a big fan of telling folks what you should taste because that's no fun. Just have fun with it. Get crazy with your flavor profiles and what you're pulling out of them. And yeah, they're all different. You're gonna go on a little ride.
So we'll go through them one direction, take a little break, go through them the other direction, and then rank them once you're done with them. But when we're done, I just need a 1 through 6, and then each one of these has got to be ranked, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 1 through 5.
One's
Right?
the highest.
It's like
One's the best.
golf,
One's
you
your
want
best.
logo.
One's your favorite.
Not 1
One's
through 5. There's only 5.
There's 5. Yeah, I said sorry. I love high-proof tasting with amateurs. This is fun. Y'all, I just see it on your face. You're like, oh my God, this is just the first one. Not used to 116 proof whiskey straight
No,
up?
it's not my go-to.
If you drink enough of it, it will become that.
As the night
smooth.
goes on.
It's actually very smooth.
Oh yeah, very spicy.
Definitely
Spicy's a good word.
like caramel vanilla is what I'm getting. Like vanilla.
That might not be the right word. It just might be the high proof. But
Caramel vanilla is a nice.
I think
That's
it's-
accurate. That first taste, I got just a little bit of nuttiness on it, but it was gone by the second taste. They keep filling. That's what I like it.
Turns out we make the stuff, so.
I got plenty of it.
It's hard to have a ranking until I've tasted more. So I got my mental notes.
Yeah.
I'm ready to.
Yeah, and I guarantee you when you, taste all through them, once, that second taste, once you go through them, they're going to be different. They're going to find different stuff that you enjoy about them.
Why y'all whisper?
I don't know. Yeah, we're not that rowdy yet.
Yeah.
Give us a couple
Tastes
more
like
of
I'm
these.
gonna
Yeah.
get a...
So TJ, just for record, a lot of us have been out all week.
Okay.
So we're finishing up a week with a really strong tasting of alcohol.
True.
So that's a good thing? Is that what you're saying? It sounds like
been a
full
fun time.
appreciation's in order.
It's been a fun time.
It's been a solid week.
mouth is fully numb
Leave
at this
that on the
point.
editing room floor.
TJ, what do you think?
I think I've got my order
I'm
already.
digging the number 1 actually.
Done. I'm done. No,
like
I'm going to go back through them. But
You like them?
I'm way behind.
I like 4 of them. There's one, not my thing. Yeah. I'm going to go back through. I'm not done, but it's the top 3. There's some debate. The bottom 1 is obvious. So you like 3 the best. What
I like
do you
3
like
the
about it?
best. 3 seems
Huh?
the
I don't wanna
sweetest
know.
between 1,
Don't wanna
2,
know.
and 3.
What was your thought on number 1 so far?
Better than 2.
Yeah, 2 is
Number 1's better
2
than
is-
2, not as good as 3.
Okay,
That's one
I'm on
better
3
than
right
2
now.
also.
I'm excited to see what they come up with. Has me on pins and needles. Because there's one in here. If they pick it, I'm kicking them all out. They're all gone. They're all done. I'm going to start doing Shopify work.
When you got to number 5, what were you picking up on flavor? Like that felt like powerful in flavor.
5 it's coffee.
Yeah. Like
It's
that felt-
very like earthy
inje-
coffee.
it's an
Yeah.
injection.
A little harsh coffee note.
Once they add whatever they're going to add to it, would that dumb it down or would it?
They're not really going to add a lot to it. So most of the barrels we pick, we want them at cask strength. That's what our audience wants. That's what I prefer. Now, if you want it over ice or something, but even cask strength is better over ice because you water it down to something, that's a little better. We're going to try to get these as close to as it comes out of the barrel as possible. Some folks water it down to a certain number, like this will be 116. So it'll be, if it's above 116, it'll be taken down to that. This is kind of what it's going to taste like. Now, realistically, it's going to sit in the barrel another 2 months before it gets bottled. And oftentimes, once it's been bottled, it tastes a little different. Some of that is, do you remember exactly what it tastes like because you had a bunch of whiskeys? And some of that is just, it's had a little more oxygen on it. It's been in a bottle for a little while kind of thing. But it should taste very similar to this when it's done. Yeah.
Yeah, number
gotta go back
2,
through it.
number 2, I don't like it. Stings the nostrils.
Okay.
Not good.
You're going to kick a couple out and get it down to 3? That's a good way to do it, too.
Nah, we're just gonna rank them.
Okay, man. I still haven't done number 1.
Now, if there are 3 that are really, really close and are tied, then we'll go through that. But what I want is a ranking, and then we'll see where we're at. This your first taste of number 5?
I was not a fan of 5 either.
What was that, Spence?
That's a industry terminology.
Yeah, that's a scientific description, actually.
I'm trying to narrow my top 3 down.
I think I'm between. Well, are we talking about what we're between?
Not between yet. We got to narrow down to top 3.
I have a
You
top.
guys do however you want.
I like that. I like the Squid Games. We got Squid Games there.
I have a top 2.
There are 3 definite in contention.
5 and 2.
Five's gone.
5 and 2 are out.
5 and 2?
I don't like those. I'm
Okay.
saying.
Does everyone kind of agree on that? Can we take those out of there?
No. 5 I agree
haven't got to
with.
5
I
yet.
don't agree with
Okay.
2.
5, I have no interest in 5.
Maybe I've had too much hot sauce, but I feel like there's something off with
but-
it for me.
You heard what I said.
I'm torn on
All right.
4. I don't know
So
what to think about
5.
4.
I honestly, I think I have the most important 2 picked. My favorite and my least favorite.
I have 2 that I have tied as my
Five has
favorite, and I don't know why.
You guys reacted in a certain way, which threw me off, but it does have a weird afterbite. I wouldn't call it coffee, but
I'm trying to rate these top 3 here and get them in the right order.
I've got my ranking. How I articulate this is a real big challenge.
Here's the great thing. You don't really have to articulate why you like them. You just have to give them a number.
got
I mean, you can.
I'm there.
If you want to. That's a fun. We could dive into that. That's a rabbit hole we could go down. But you don't have to. This is not therapy. This is picking whiskey.
This is where I dive into my lack of, I guess, experience or being able to pick up like notes. Unless it slaps you in the face, I'm not that guy. But when I drink whiskey, I particularly enjoy rye whiskey.
Okay.
I know that for sure.
Okay.
And I am an ice in the whiskey kind of guy. Water it down a little bit. Mellow out the spiciness of it kind of stuff. And then I really, really like it. And I do enjoy tasting my alcohol too.
Yeah.
If he sells 5 to anybody,
Yeah, 5 is.
I feel bad for him. 5 is awful. Like everything else is a contender. Something's wrong with 5. It is like weird, kind of like grainy coffee.
Is that the one where I did my?
Yeah.
That is yes. That is very much that one. So you nailed. Everybody has nailed 5. I've heard from so far. There was one person said 5's pretty good.
This guy right here. I'm calling him out.
I didn't say pretty good.
Boo this man.
I didn't mind it.
Listen, everybody has differences of opinion. Everybody has a different palate. He may start a YouTube channel and pick grain-forward coffee whiskeys, and y'all may love them all. But that's just not for me.
It's fine.
When are you ready for us to reveal our rig?
So we'll get them from everybody, and then we'll total them up, and we'll see if there's any controversy. And if there's any like ties or really close, then we may have to go back to them.
I'm locked in.
You good?
Yep. Well, I think. I don't know. I've gone back and forth a couple times. My top 3 could be interchangeable, I think.
You could have the same top 3 I have in any order, and I would agree with you.
If we don't agree, then we'll have to go outside and figure it out.
This is going to be really fun.
I have a clear favorite.
wanna discuss
Very
it?
clear. I think I'm different than everybody else in that fact.
I'm ready to double.
Is it 5?
I'm definitely not.
Okay.
So different.
So let's get everybody locked in. Everybody ready? We're going to start right here. We'll work our way around the table. Barrel number 1. Give me a score of 1 through 5.
2.
Number 2, excuse me.
3.
Number 3.
4.
Number 4.
1.
Number 5.
5.
1. Number 1.
2.
Number 2.
5.
Number 3.
3.
Number 1. Or number 4. I can't even talk.
Number 4 is 1.
And number 5.
4.
Number 1.
2.
Number 2.
Barrel 2 was my 5.
Number 3.
3.
Number 4.
1.
Number 5.
4.
Barrel 1.
1.
Barrel 2.
5.
Barrel 3.
4.
Barrel 4.
2.
Barrel 5.
3.
Barrel 1. What is she doing?
She's really mathing. The math is not mathing.
You shouldn't have to math. You just got to start.
Triangulate the hypotenuse. Carry the
quick
3.
calculus.
You're trying to figure out which one's winning, and you're changing your answer.
No, but I wrote it in a way where I wasn't ready to tell you my
Sin
number.
over cosine.
Yeah.
Let's just skip that. Let's just continue. We'll come back to you. I'm going to try to give you time to do your math.
It's already done.
Okay, so barrel number 1.
Barrel number 1 I have is
Your third favorite or your first favorite?
3. Barrel number 2.
4.
Barrel number 3.
1.
Barrel number 4.
2.
Barrel number 5.
5.
Number 1 is 3.
Barrel number 2.
That's 4.
Barrel number 3.
That's going to be 2.
Barrel number 4.
1.
Barrel number 5.
Of course, barrel number 5 is 5.
All right, so if y'all want to know for me, y'all's ranking is pretty similar to mine, actually. Barrel number 1 was 2. Barrel number 3... Actually, barrel number... Yep. I can't even say. Barrel number 2 was 4. Barrel number 3 is 3. Barrel number 4 is number 1. And barrel number 5 is awful. So barrel number 3 was the one that was the most controversial to me because it has like an interesting kind of graininess to it, a little bit of nuttiness to it that I just find kind of interesting. And I had it the first go round as I went through. And it's probably because it was the most unique out of them. But when I went back through, I just preferred what was going on 4. Pour me a little bit more 4. Pour everybody a little bit more 4. Because 4-1. 4-1.
I was torn on 1.
It's 4. I still have 4.
Over 4?
Yeah, I was too.
If you're into like a flavor.
If you're into that sort of thing.
I was gonna say I was between 3 and 4 as my 1 and 2. I went with 3 because of the uniqueness, but 4 definitely felt like, oh, anyone was gonna like this whiskey.
Yeah.
Like, this is
Nice
this is
homely
classically good.
Well, 4 is almost developing like a really light orange peel. It's not like it doesn't go all the way there,
It's suggested.
but it's really like a light orange peel.
Which one will like actually?
Well, so 4 got 5 number 1s, 2 number 2s. Like it wasn't even close.
Well, this was super fun. Thanks again for
Well, I appreciate y'all
putting
coming.
this together.
Educational.
Oh, number 4.
Number 4 took the cake for me. Like that's like like been one of my babies for a long time.
He was drinking it over here.
My man.
And I definitely wanted to throw that into the mix. Really, really glad that you guys had such a polar, opposite, reaction to number 5. It's good to have those barrels in there. Those really controversial, like, whoa, that just does not taste like any of these other ones. I put one of those barrels in every single tasting I do, and it's really fun to see because sometimes, depending on the group, depending on the people, it's like it always happens. Like some people will be like, "Oh,
That's a
you
jam.
love that one.
That's a jam, right?
You really enjoyed that." But a lot of times, it's necessary to pop one of those in there to just kind of like shock your palate and be like, "Whoa, let's get back to that flavor profile that we really liked." I'm super happy that everybody landed on that one. That was my personal favorite. I'm super stoked and just can't thank you guys enough for being here. Thanks so much for coming.
Great.
The Clout's why you gave us the good bottles,
Number
right?
4, y'all. Number 4.
Yeah.
That's
That's
what
a
we
Clout
selected.
bottle right there,
Clout,
right?
Clout, baby.
Y'all heard the man's been holding on to that barrel for
weird.
quite some time,
So plain.
and the Clout got it. The Clout's going up. Sooner or later, we're going to have Clout to do anything we want to do. So y'all hit the like button on this video. I appreciate everybody watching. We had a good time here in Austin. Is this a good corporate thing? Should we do more corporate barrels?
Hell yeah.
Okay. And I just want to give a big shout out to Still Austin for having us, as well as the Big Commerce team for joining us on this pick. It was a lot of fun, and I think you're all really going to enjoy this particular barrel. You can learn more about these barrels by joining the Brewzle Club. The Brewzle Club is our paid membership with a free tier, giving you access to exclusive product releases, tasting videos, live streams, and events we have coming up in the near future. You can learn more at Brewzle.com. There's also a link in the description. Appreciate all y'all watching, and we'll see you next time.